Here we are. How's it
Hey
going?
man,
Welcome back.
thanks. Yeah, it was a nice break, but it's really good to be back in the swing of things.
You look tan. Were you somewhere nice?
I was in the Bahamas. That's funny. That's good. I look tan, I guess. I burn really easily, so I slather on lots of suntan lotion. I
Well,
don't really
you look tinted. Let's put it that way.
good. Um, but yeah, it's funny too because like now with the baby too, we just like slather all the suntan lotion possible on her, so we all walk around like these
Right.
touristy people covered in white moisturizer.
That's
Anyway.
hilarious.
Yeah, it was a good trip. Yeah, I mean, it was just overall, it was really neat having bringing a child like that. I mean, she's 1.5 years old. It's just, I don't know. There's just so many things we take for granted that, like, when you watch it through, when you watch her react to this stuff, it's just like mind blowing. I don't know, from everything, even from like the simplest little things, like, there's like these characters. We went on a cruise to the Bahamas. There were just like DreamWorks characters, right? Shrek, and I don't even know these. I've never even seen these movies. Like Madagascar, there's like lions and stuff. I don't even know anything about these characters. And as an adult, I feel like, oh, they're dumb. Like I don't care. I haven't seen the movies because they're dumb kids movies. But man, watching her just like take in the world as like, whoa, what is this? A hippo is walking around on this boat and like trying to understand what that is. It's really neat to watch someone with that like beginner's mind, like just taking in everything fresh. It's inspiring. I don't know. It just really kind of clues you into like, what are you looking at that you've taken for granted that you should be kind of looking at with like wider eyes and like try to kind of take it in again as a beginner. It's really neat.
Yep, completely agree with all those things. That's awesome.
Yeah. Even her playing in a sandbox was just kind of amazing. Like she has the whole beach, but she would gravitate towards the first thing of sand she could find. When we would like get off a bus to go to the beach, she would see a little patch of sand by like a restaurant and she'd be like, sandbox, let's go. And it's just like, no, hun, there's this enormous sandbox nearby. She didn't give a shit. She's just like, I want to go there. And it's just, there's just a lot of levels that's kind of cool with that about like just having more innocent expectations, but then also not realizing some of the bigger things that are out there in the world quite yet. I don't know. There's just a lot of cool stuff just being around a kid like that.
Fun.
How's everything over here? You were in New York for a while?
Yep. Well, let's get into the show though, I guess, because we can catch up about some of the stuff afterwards, so we don't confuse the audience. Well, it's been a week or so since we've done the show. So just to remind people, some people may be watching the show for the first time. We get together every day and talk about product decisions, talk about product management, talk about what it's like to make a product and to design something and engineer it and build it and market it and share our struggles about things we're unsure about and things we're not clear about and things we're not doing well at or things we're doing really well at. Kind of, it's all ideas work in progress. We're figuring this stuff out as we go and sharing the things that we know as we go. So we talked a little bit about earlier today. We talked a little bit about the topic for today. We thought that we might talk about dealing with the holidays coming up. Right, we got Thanksgiving in the United States. Christmas is coming up, which is a little bit more around the world, and you got New Year's and stuff. And like, what do you product planning around that? Is always a little bit of a challenge, and it's something I think you got to think about. And so we talked about talking about that, basically. In fact, like launching Basecamp 3, like we just did a few weeks ago, we picked a day. Like the reason we launched it in early November, basically, was because of the holidays, and timing it was important to us. So we our busiest time of the year at Basecamp is the first quarter of the year, basically January, February, March-ish. That's our busiest time of the year. Basecamp's a very aspirational kind of product. New year, let's get our shit together this year. Let's get our stuff together. Let's get on the same page. Let's get our client projects together. Let's figure things out because the way we're doing it before has been a mess, right? So people start in January and they sign up for Basecamp, and we've got a big first part of the year. We didn't want to launch the new Basecamp on like July or January 3rd or whatever the first Monday is back, because anytime you launch something big, there's some kinks you got to work out of the system. There's going to be some bugs. There's going to be some stuff. We didn't want to do it that, but we wanted to have it ready, absolutely, for that, rock solid for that day. So then we thought, okay, when can we launch this? Well, we don't want to launch it in December because you got Christmas and you've got other holidays, and we don't want people to have to work hard through the holidays. So December is kind of tough. You could do early December possibly, but at the end of November, you've got Thanksgiving holiday in the US, and people are going to be off for about a whole week, right? So there's going to be stuff left over that isn't done yet. And so, when do you do this? And so we decided late October, early November was the right time to do it. It would give us a few weeks after that launch, prior to the big holiday, which is coming up this week. And then after that, we can refine a little bit more. Then you have Christmas, and then we'll be pretty rock solid come January. So that's sort of how we planned in a big picture to launch at that time. On a more micro level, what are you guys doing in terms of planning staffing this week or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, very similar stuff. So we go through there. I mean, there's a couple levels of this. One is, like you're saying, product planning. Lynette and I, our chief operating officer, we sat down, I don't know, a couple months ago now, 3 months ago now. She just started recently. So it was whenever she just started, we just planned out, knowing that some of the stuff was going to happen, like the holidays were coming up, what announcements were going to look like, just because I'm a huge fan of just keeping the momentum going on the team.
Yep.
And with our customers and letting them know things are alive and a lot of stuff is happening. So it was important to know that and it doesn't take very long. I mean, we just sat down for I don't know, a half hour. I mean, it wasn't a very long meeting, just kind of looking at the holidays and being okay, when are the holidays happening? If the holidays are happening here, when are we going to send out an email to our customers about new stuff happening? I don't even know what we're going to announce. That stuff is still always constantly getting figured out, but we were just going to be when are those announcements going to happen? So, we knew okay, look, we can't announce anything this week because it's kind of a dead week. We can't announce something, in between Christmas and New Year, that kind of stuff. And when you start looking at those dates, stuff starts kind of falling into place. Okay, we can get an email newsletter out right after Thanksgiving. That's an okay, time of the year. After that, we're kind of in a lull again. And just for us, that's a really important exercise, just to realize, okay, here are some important things that we kind of have to make sure we have milestones for. And so things fall, that kind of just helps kind of guide our product planning. So, when we're talking about new features and stuff, it's okay, it just helps us kind of, know okay, that's a huge thing. We're not going to get that done, by the first week of December or whatever. Let's wait until after January to get that done. It helps things fall into place just by kind of spending just 30 minutes thinking about how the holidays fall into place. The second thing that I've learned to do is this kind of was kind of something I learned recently. And it was a little bit of a shock. It was cool. It was a good lesson, but it was Chris, we have a small team. I mean, there's only 7 of us, and we only have one guy who's dedicated to customer support. I mean, all of us kind of chip in here and there and answer requests, but there's really one guy who's heading this thing, a guy named Chris Gallo. He's freaking awesome. And he's got minute response time all on his own. He's really quick with helping people out. But the guy isn't a machine. He has to take vacations and go on breaks. So when he's gone, it's oh my God, what are we going to do? And I've got some more help now that Lynette's here. She can help me out. But when he left, maybe the second time, the first time Basecamp support still was able to chip in. The second time, it was just I don't want to keep relying on you guys. We got to handle this ourselves. So it was just me handling support. And we get quite a bit of support requests. And it was just this is going to be a terrible week that he's gone. All we did to try and I knew I doing it myself couldn't do the 1 minute response times. There's just too many other things going on in my day. We just simply put a little banner on the support form that just said, it was just really transparent and honest. And it was just our support team is on vacation. He's gone. I mean, I don't spell it the one guy who can help you right now is on vacation. I'll try. But I mentioned we're going to be slower this week because our support team is gone. And it was awesome. People, the support request went down that week. I think people were just let's wait till next week when Chris is back. But the people who responded were also very nice. They were oh, that was great, you replied. I didn't think I would get a reply so fast. So it was like just setting a better expectation of like what we were going to be able to deliver that week. I think it went a long way to like helping people kind of just realize what's going on. I don't think we really had much of a blowback of anything poor from that. It was just a nice lesson learned of just kind of being transparent with what's going on in your organization. If you've got a small team and the support time is going poorly because the one person who's responsible is on vacation, let people know that. I think it goes you're not going to lose business, I don't think, from it. I think you're going to probably gain some trust with being, open about that kind of thing.
Totally. I think that's the best advice you can give anybody, which is just lay it out there and be clear about it. Like, hey, it's holiday weekend here. We're a little bit short-staffed. You don't even have to say nobody's here. We're short-staffed this week. It's a holiday in the United States. Sorry, we won't be able to get back to you as quickly as we normally do, but we'll do our best, and we'll be back at full strength next week. Like, you just say something like that, and people are reasonable. They'll go, oh yeah, that's cool. I get that. Like, I take holidays too. Like, right? That's what your audience is going to be saying. They'll get that. So I think that's a really important thing to do. The other thing to keep in mind, of course, is that like even if you're a global business like you are and we are, a big portion of our business is still in the U.S. And so it's just support load will be lighter. Everything will be lighter anyway. So you kind of get it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise there, I suppose. Like well, that's maybe the wrong term, but it just lightens up anyway. So it's a little bit easier anyway. But anyway, yeah, I just think the fundamental point is just communicate, be clear. You don't have to like be nervous about it. Just, like, be clear and people understand. People totally understand. And then, like you said, if you're still able to get back to people quickly, they'll be even more blown away. Like we've had that happen when people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're working on the holidays. Or sometimes I'll take some tickets. I haven't done this in quite a while, but I used to take some tickets at like 10 o'clock at night if I was just up or something. Before I went to sleep, I'd jump in when we were using like Zendesk or something and answer a couple. And people would just be floored that like someone would answer at 10 o'clock or whatever. This is before we had 24/7 coverage like we do today. And they'd just be floored by it. Or like I'll do it on Twitter sometimes. I'll just respond to some people on Twitter at night before I go to sleep or whatever, just like knock 5 out or something. And people will just be surprised just because they don't expect it. So it's about setting the expectations, about over delivering, and then you're in really good shape.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good strategy in general. I'm not sure, in fact, what we're doing. We have people in Canada. We have people in the UK, 2 people in Germany, couple people in the UK. We've got someone in Hong Kong and someone in Sydney. So we're pretty covered as far as non-US people on our support team, but we will be light as well. So I don't really know what Kristen, who runs our support group, is doing there, but I'm sure they've got a handle. They've done it before. But I like your suggestion about just being honest about it. Smart.
Thanks. And yeah, the other thing too that like I just mentioned about the planning thing, it's interesting how I don't know. I think people take that a little bit for granted. They don't. Yeah, it like I said, it like only took us like 30 minutes to kind of like realize when we should be sending kind of notifications out, and it goes a long way. Like some people I notice like they don't plan their any kind of things they do publicly, like from blog posts they send out. They'll spend all this time writing a blog post, but then they like send it out to the world on like Twitter. They let people know on like a Friday afternoon, and it was like, from experience, like Friday afternoons are really rotten time to let people know your like latest blog post. And some people have different cycles. I mean, sometimes Saturdays are the best for narrative stories or whatever, but I see a lot of people who don't really even spend any time thinking about that. And I really think it bites them in the ass. I mean, they spend all this time crafting something, whether it's a product announcement or a blog post or doing anything. And by not spending a little bit of upfront time thinking about when you're delivering this news, it sucks. You might deliver it on the same day, like Apple's launching a bunch of news. Nobody's paying any attention to what you're doing. If Tim Cook's on stage for 2 hours or 3 hours or however long people are just watching Apple that day, that kind of thing. I'm sorry. No. I mean, that's pretty much the point. Like, there's only a few people I think they can get by without planning. And like, I was reading about Elon Musk. He doesn't give a shit when stuff gets planned because they're launching so many things over at Tesla and SpaceX. He'll launch stuff on a Friday afternoon because they know Monday there's going to be another launch of something. Now that's also very interesting if you could pull that off. But most people aren't Elon Musk.
A couple things. So I think first of all, I agree. Like I'm working on a couple posts right now that I want to announce internal. So in Basecamp 3, we have a way to, it's kind of this cool thing we built. We used to have like in-product announcements. So there's like a banner. You can go to the admin section and have a banner and like, say something, right? The new way we did it was we just we have an admin thing that says like new announcement, and it says title, and then it says link. And basically it just lets us like write something anywhere and just announce it in the app. There'll be a badge and a little Basecamp icon and a link to that story. So we could like write something on Medium, and then it's just also an internal announcement. So we don't have to make it in two places and the whole thing. Anyway,
yeah,
I've got this post coming up that I want to talk about some really powerful ways to find things in Basecamp. How to find things if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, or who said it, but you don't know exactly what it was, so you can't remember a keyword, or when it was said, or kind of where it was said, or what kind of thing it was, but you don't know all the things about it. And so I'm writing up this post about how you can do these things, because it's kind of not everyone knows how to do it. So I'm writing this up, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to have this written probably by tomorrow. And my natural instinct would be like, announce it the next day, but that would be Wednesday. And that's crappy because people are out of town this week. So save it to Monday, it's no big deal. That said, I think like Elon Musk too, like the thing is, when you're announcing products like he is, the press is going to have their own announcement schedule. So they're going to also kind of temper when they're going to get the word out.
Right. It'll make up for it. Right. I think
Musk's last press conference about the Model X was at like 11 o'clock on a Friday night. Right. But like, no one missed the news because it was in the Sunday papers or online for the next week anyway. So I think there's part of that. But yeah, I agree. But it is smart though to think about, if you're going to make a splash and you don't have a lot of chances to make a splash anyway, where are people going to be? Are they going to be paying attention? Monday is probably not the best time to do it either after a long holiday weekend, because there's stuff that's backed up already. So I might hold the announcement, I might have it written, but I might hold it till Tuesday or even Wednesday or something next week. So people have a chance to catch up on things that are already in their inbox or whatever they're doing. So
yeah,
there's a couple questions actually. Let's
do it.
Let's jump.
And please, everyone, ask questions. We answer a bunch of questions on work in progress. We'd love to hear from you.
I'll take a quick one. And by the way, to ask a question in the comments thing on the right, you do a /Q and then your question, then we'll see it in this panel, and then we can do this and pop it up here. So Walt just has a quick question about Basecamp 3. What is the Basecamp functionality for in Basecamp, or bookmark functionality? So in Basecamp 3, you can bookmark anything, a to-do list, a to-do item, a message, a file, you name it, right? When you bookmark something, it shows up under the Basecamp, in the Basecamp's menu. So if you pull down your Basecamp's menu and you bookmark anything, it'll show up underneath the particular Basecamp that you bookmarked it in. And it's great to catch up on something later that you want to come back to. There might be a to-do list that you're working on constantly that you don't want to have to kind of dig through. You just kind of bookmark that. There might be a specific event coming up. There might be a message or a document that you refer to often. Just bookmark those things, and you have one-click access from the Basecamp menu no matter where you are in the whole product. So that's what that is all about. All right, that was just a quick one. Let's see. This is actually really interesting. I'm going to take this one from Michael.
Yeah, totally.
Michael, this is the second time I've heard the phrase aspirational product on the show. I referred to Basecamp as an aspirational product for those who are joining us now. Is that what you want the product to be? By the way, that is a really great question, and I already took note on that because that actually it just inspired me to think about what I mean by that. So what we've, and this is kind of, these are these good moments. So I do think Basecamp's an aspirational product in that people want to get their shit together. People want to be more organized. Organization and tidiness is a competitive advantage. When you're working against other people, if you have your shit together and shit organized, I think you're in a better position to succeed on whatever it is you're working on. That said, we don't really make the case. We don't really talk about Basecamp in this way, and I really feel like we should. And I really appreciate you asking this question because, it's really easy to take it for granted what you think your product is and how you think it's perceived and what you think it stands for and what you think it does. And it's really good to sort of be kicked in the ass and be like, well, what do you mean by that? Or is that really what you mean? Because I've been carrying around this idea of aspirational product in my head. Like I see our sales patterns. I get like Basecamp gets big signups in the first. I mean, it does well the whole year, but the first few months of the year, distinctly different patterns. And I've talked to some people about it. And like, yeah, we're going to get our shit together this year. This is our year to get our shit together. It's like a gym membership. It's the same kind of thing. Yeah, we don't really do a lot of marketing around that, especially even around the beginning of the year, but also all year round. This idea that upgrade your business. Basecamp is a way to upgrade your business. It's not just a way to get a new tool in your business. It's a way to make your business actually a better business. I thoroughly believe that, especially with Basecamp 3. So this is really a great question because it's actually more of a prompt than a question. So the answer is yes, I would like it to be that. As far as the strengths and weaknesses go, I mean, there's part of the challenges of aspirational things is that you have to deliver on, like, people sign up for the gym membership in January because they want to get healthy, they want to get shit going this year, and then by the end of January they're not going anywhere. They're going once a week instead of 3 times a week, and that's a challenge you need to maintain. Like if that's all you're selling is get your shit together this year, and it fades off after 3 weeks because people fall back on previous habits, you've got to really do some work to help them with that, to get them like basically back on the horse if they start to fall off. So like there's some of that stuff, and I have some better ideas on how we can do that, which we'll be working on soon. But anyway, I'm sort of rambling on this, but I really appreciate that question because it really makes me think and makes me ask myself the same question that you're asking me.
There's some interesting patterns that I think also come from it that I don't. So high-rise is the same thing. We very similarly, we hear from a lot of people like it's the same pattern. We see a bunch of signups go up at the beginning of the year. People want to start. It's part of like a resolution. They want to like kind of like, okay, now I'm finally going to start the next business. I'm going to start my new business or my new project and start, organizing it and start getting serious about it. I'm not going to just email some people back and forth. I'm going to start tracking things and having goals. There's something though interesting about that in that we've been like, and you just pointed at it, but it was like people will, the inspiration will go up and down in these cycles, right? They'll get really excited about using it and then they'll go away for a while. And there's something really interesting there that I don't think we do well yet at High Rise. And I want to get better at it, but it's like, when there's a bunch of people that come to High Rise and they get really excited about it and then they leave for a while. They don't cancel their account or whatever, but then they just don't use it for a while and then they come back. And now they're serious about it again, or with like they want to get a fresh start. And High Rise doesn't have a really good way of doing like a fresh start again. You've used it a little bit, maybe you added some test data or you fooled around with it a little bit and you left and now you come back. There's no way to kind of like go back to the clean slate without deleting the account and starting over. And I think there's some really interesting things there that we could do that I don't see other people doing, besides like canceling your account and starting over. I feel like there needs to be some like, let's start this thing fresh again. Like, I don't know what it is. If it's just like some nice admin screens that are just like, well, you know what, let's just like delete all my contacts, delete all my deals. Let me start over and make that like a 1-button process that lets you do that. I don't know. There's something really cool there that we haven't done yet that I'd like to do in the new year, but that's just, I don't know. That was interesting what you brought up.
Totally agree with that. We get that in Basecamp sometimes too. First of all, people, when someone buys something new, they mess with it for a while, right? They have to explore it. They play around a little bit and they don't know what it does yet and what's possible yet. And the thing is with a lot of software products, ours included, we're leaving this dirty paper trail behind, right? It's like here's the history of all your fucking around, and like you just want to, okay, I got it now. Like I spent 2 weeks messing around, playing around. I got it now. Let me just like start over. Now in Basecamp you can archive Basecamps, you can delete Basecamps. It's relatively easy to do that, but it's not purpose driven, and that there's not like a really clear way to go, let me start over. Like, this is the thing. When you talk about software, there's a lot of things that are possible in software. And like an engineer would go, oh, it's possible. You just kind of you made 6 sample Basecamps, just go archive them, right? But you have to connecting the functions with the imagination is really difficult to do. And people don't necessarily know, like, if there was if this is a common thing, if this is a common thing to say, like, hey, I just want to start over, I'm done fucking around, I just want to start over, I made some mistakes, let me just start over. Like, it's like if you have a notebook, right, and you can just like rip those pages out and throw them away, there's no history that those pages ever existed, except perhaps maybe the notebook's a little bit thinner and maybe there's some like leftover crap that you may or may not care about, but like it's pretty much a fresh notebook now. We're basically saying you have to go buy a new notebook, or you have to like cancel the notebook, which basically means like some weird process you have to do, and it sucks. So I do think there should be a nice way somewhere to be like, hey, I just want to start this over. I was playing around, I just want to start this over. It needs to be very important. Like, you should probably have to enter a password again, or some like email confirmation or something, because that's like a really important thing, you know? But one other way to do it is to just like kind of, you could almost think of like turning the page, where you could have different chapters of your product. So it's almost like, we're not going to delete anything. We're just going to like put it in this folder now, which is like old or whatever the hell it is. And it's only accessible to you, or I don't know, like it's not really actually getting rid of everything, but it's just kind of like cleaning it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think this is a really important thought. And because I think it's very true that people get some software and they start messing around. Of course they do. We all do this. And since a lot of tools these days are all about like recording history and showing everything that you ever said for, whatever, you end up making a mess first, and some people want to start off clean again.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah. There's do we still have time? Are we
a couple minutes. We started a few minutes late.
There's another thing that comes from this. Or is there another question you want to answer?
Let me see if there's anything for you here.
I still can't scroll.
Oh, you can't? That's weird. I can. I'm on Chrome. What are you using?
Chrome.
Oh,
yeah.
weird.
There's like a weird bug. I can't scroll that left column at all.
That's weird. Okay, well, I'll read the question. So, actually, here's what's cool. Is if I tap a question, it goes to the top. I guess it does not. Anyway, so someone's asking about onboarding, and someone's asking about A/B test pricing. Someone's asking about hiring product managers. Do you want me to take a question, or did you want to talk about something?
Go ahead.
I kind of hate leaving people hanging.
Yeah, I know.
I'll take this one. That's pretty quick. A/B testing prices. We do occasionally. We're not doing it right now with Basecamp 3, because when we launch something new, we want everything to be very straightforward. So like our support team knows exactly what customers are seeing. There's no weird moments like, well, you might be seeing this and you might be seeing that, because that's extremely complicated. But going into the new year, or probably maybe in March or something, we're going to start. We have some price concepts that we're going to start testing out, pricing concepts. What we typically do with that is we do it thoroughly, though. So when we have an A/B test for pricing, we make sure to track cookies on the marketing site and the application itself. So if a customer goes back to the marketing site and looks up the prices, they'll see the prices they're being charged, not the prices someone else was being charged, because that's when it can be really confusing for people when customers look at something and like the prices don't match. So we kind of go the whole way on that. But more interestingly enough is I'm very interested in A/B testing prices, like 29 versus 39 versus 34 versus 36, the whole thing. I think that's pretty interesting. But one of the things we're going to be testing next year too is just like a different pricing model entirely, which is something else I'm looking forward to, which is not so much of an A/B as it is like deep and long-term cohort analysis, basically. But one of the most famous tests we did in the last few years was, we used to price everything at like 29 or 19 versus 20, or like 99 versus 100 and 149 versus 150. And we tested and found out that 20 converted better than 19, and 100 converted better than 99, and 150 converted better than 149. And the theory there was that like everyone kind of feels like nines are tricks. This is a pure theory. Don't know if this is true. Although for Basecamp 3, we went back to nines. So we're back at nines right now, but I think that's something we will test moving forward. I'm sort of curious to see how it tests next time. And here's the thing: don't take anyone's price testing as gospel for your own product. Everything's different. So even though even numbers or zeros work better than nines for us in Basecamp 2, may not work better for you, and it may not work better for Basecamp 3. So you got to try it yourself.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, it's like with anything, especially testing pricing, it's like you said, you have to really do long-term cohort testing for this stuff. It's like, maybe you can increase signups if with a certain price point, but then people cancel sooner at that price point. Like, it's really tough to do A/B testing with pricing. I still think so we're going to fool too with some of this pricing stuff and testing some ideas, but I still think that the best thing that I've ever done to like help me with pricing and to kind of determine pricing is, and I've mentioned on the show before too, is like just stick in my own credit card to pay for my own product. It seems silly, like you're paying money into your own business that you're probably going to just pay yourself back anyway. But there's something about getting this receipt that your customers are getting and getting hit on your credit card every month or whatever your billing period is, that helps you kind of like frame like, oh my God, I'm spending whatever my charge is, like $39 a month on this, when I'm also spending $9 a month on something else, or $100 a month on something else. It really helps you kind of like compare it to all the other stuff you pay for. And it really helps you kind of ground yourself as your customers are in what they pay for things. And I've made changes that way. It's like I used to charge one way for draft, and when I was like seeing the prices, I was like, oh man, I've really got to make a change here. This doesn't make any sense. And it helps me adjust the pricing plans too. It's like, I don't think I'm getting enough for this, what I'm paying for here. I better increase the plans. Like, there's just something you get from doing it yourself, a feeling you get that you don't get when you like comp yourself, or like the whole product is free to you because it's your product.
Right. Lastly, let me just take this follow-up, which is, are there any problems with customers paying different prices? Nothing measurable. Like, you might have a customer occasionally who might say, my friend's paying $29, why am I paying $35? And if that ever happens, like, you can just switch them to the lower plan. Like, it happens so infrequently, and it's smallest possible fraction, that if it ever is a problem, you just take care of it on a one-off basis. But people are used to paying different prices for a lot of different things anyway. Like, you go on a plane, and like the pricing is variable. So I mean, some people get really irritated by it. Other people just don't know about it. I think it's totally, by the way, that should never, ever, ever stop you from experimenting with pricing. Like, you should never feel like you're locked in because of a decision you made once. Like, that is not good business. So it's totally fair, and to experiment, and if there's any sort of leakage of any sort in that way, you just take care of people on a one-off basis if they really have a problem with it. It's no big deal. So, all right, we're now officially over time.
We're done. Peter, there's a question. I'm not going to answer it right now because I want Peter Marcano. You asked about, are you planning on injecting yourself more into hires? Let me know what you mean some more by that, please, on Twitter. We can talk about it later in another show, but I'm curious a little bit more about what you're asking about there.
Cool. Yeah, we can save that one for the next show, perhaps. Cool. If you guys follow up on that. So anyway, It's great to be back. I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad the audience is back, and this is a really good show, fun, good topics, and we'll be back tomorrow.
And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I just dumped a link into the discussion.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and please tell your friends about it as well, because we really would love to get the audience count up. And thanks for all the whatever these are called, feel good scouts,
karmas,
props.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks for the prop. Wow, we're not going to stop till the props stop dropping.
That's right. You've won this battle, it looks like, my friend. Today
We might be on here for hours. So, by the way, let me just actually, I want to address this. I think this is a wonderful product decision by Blab. How these tend to float. I'm looking at them and seeing if there's a pattern here, but they kind of just tend to sort of like organically like blow out like smoke. And it's a really thoughtful random approach. If it is random, and if it's not random, it appears to be random. I really like that. It's just one of those small little details that makes it more fun to do, and also just makes it feel like it's someone thought about it more so than just like increasing a count. Yeah. So I really, really appreciate that. This was a bad idea because now we are not going to have to. We do have to go, people. Now, as long as I'm winning, we have to go. As long as I'm winning, we have to go. Now I'm losing. We do not have to go. Now it looks like I'm just kidding. All right, we're going to go.
Thank you, everybody.
Wait, I get to 1,000. All right, now we got to go.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much.